Here we go. Lofi Poli Sci coming at you. Michael Pickering here talking our famous question. What's going on in the world today? And we got that Lo-Fi Global coming at you, and straight to it. Big news and update to a story we've been talking about for a long time. Paul Rusesabagina, who was kidnapped and brought to Rwanda and sentenced to 25 years in prison, has been freed. His prison sentence has been commuted, and at the time of this recording, he was already out of Rwanda and in Qatar, then keeping on moving on home. The Rwandan government says it was done to help reset U.S.-Rwandan diplomatic ties. Interesting statement there. Very interesting. The Rwandan government wanted Rusesabagina so bad, they kidnapped him in another country and then brought him to Rwanda to try him. And I can't help but think, what exactly did they get from the U.S. that incentivized them to release Rusesabagina? Question mark. I don't know, and we may never know, but regardless, we're happy to see him released and homeward bound. Now, next up, let's talk about Senegal, and can a president run for 3 terms in Senegal? Question mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, current President Sall says he absolutely can. That his political opponents, though? What do they say? No, you can't. There's rules in the Constitution which was rewritten in 2016, and it explicitly states terms are now only 5 years instead of 7 years, and you can only have 2 terms per person. But President Sall says his first term of 7 years doesn't count towards the 2-term limit because it was rewritten during his second term. So his second term will actually be his first term. So he can run for a new second term, and his first term won't count. So his new second term would not be his third term. You feel me? I know you do. Now, the president hasn't stated he's going to run again for the next election, which is just next year. But keep close eyes on this one, people. And P.S., if you did follow what I previously said, you may very well be a lo-fi nerd. Now let's switch gears on to Hong Kong, where, for the first time since COVID lockdowns started, Hong Kong has had a protest. But it's not the umbrella protest of the past. It's not a pro-democracy protest. It's not an anti-Beijing protest. It was a pre-approved protest of 100 people who were all pre-vetted for the protest, and they were constantly surrounded by police who kept them separated from media and other spectators, and any banners the protesters had to also be pre-approved. And that was the protest. It was against land reclaiming policy in the city. Yep, that's it. That's protest news in Hong Kong. Because at this point, no pro-democracy protest is likely to come back to Hong Kong anytime soon. And as we said last year, Hong Kong is no longer an autonomous or special district in China. Hong Kong is controlled by Beijing now. Simple as that. Now, keeping with China news, but not China news, but China and Taiwan news and Honduras news, you feel me? You see, there were 13 countries that recognized Taiwan as an actual sovereign state, a country of its own, completely separated from China. Remember now, 200 countries in the world. But that number 13 has just dropped to 12. 12 that recognize Taiwan, as Honduras has just switched sides and has announced it's severing diplomatic ties with Taiwan and only recognizes one China, and that China's government is located in Beijing. And what brought about this change, you might be asking? Well, apparently the Honduran government started a bidding war for developmental aid between China and Taiwan. And who would give more aid? Now, outside of that, there's no telling the truth behind why Honduras chose China over Taiwan. Taiwan says one thing, China says another thing, Honduras says one thing. And really, they are all saying exactly what they want us to hear. All we know for sure is that a bidding war took place, Honduras chose China, and as a byproduct, Honduras gave up recognizing Taiwan as a country. Simple as that. And China extends its One Belt and Road initiative even further into the Americas. And just in case you're wondering, the 12 left: Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, the Holy See, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, Paraguay, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Tuvalu. Now you know. And a last piece of news to send you on your way for the day, for the week. To Utah we go. And yes, Utah, the land of yous and taws. And no, I don't know what that means. But an interesting story came across my eyes that I thought this may be interesting to talk about. You see, Utah has now made a law that children in their state need parental consent in order to use social media. And that social media apps are required to do an age verification for people in Utah. And if you're under 18, you need parental consent to use that social media app. Interesting. Am I right? I mean, what do we think about this? Because really, it starts from a very basic place in question. Should little kids, small ones, should little kids be able to join social media? And if the answer is no, then that's where the debate begins. Because how old should a person have to be before they start using social media? That's the question, right? It's about censorship, and it's about the banning of underage users. And think about it. Our government, all governments, discriminate against the youth in a ton of different ways. Like driving ages, smoking ages, drinking ages, voting ages, running for office ages. And Utah has now begun discriminating against the young even more, based on how young is too young to use social media, and by giving that choice not to the youth, but to the parents. Write in, people. I'm curious your thoughts. And that's a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. And check out tomorrow's blog post and Friday's Lofi Global Press article, both on lofipolisci.com. And always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Talk to you later, Lofi listeners. Pickering, signing off.